It's been a minute since I've updated on my own like personal healing journey, so I thought I would do that. A month or a month and a half ago, I slowed down therapy. I had been doing individual therapy weekly and couples therapy weekly, and I cut both in half. So now I have therapy once a week, but it's rotating. It's been really, really good, and I feel like healing has not slowed down at all. It's just that we're both now like kind of doing more outside of therapy, more sort of like real life practice healing work stuff, which I think is really good. Some of what we've been working on is my sexual trauma stuff, which I'm kind of limited on what I feel like sharing on here as far as that goes. But I thought I would share just kind of some of the things that, like, on a average day that I am trying to do to heal between therapy sessions. I feel like I basically spent most of my life completely in my head, completely in my thoughts, and not really at all in my feelings, except when I like absolutely couldn't help it and would like break down. And that has dramatically changed. I think about my feelings all the time, talk about them all the time, and try to feel them regularly, which is definitely a work in progress for me. There are definitely still frequent times where I can't really seem to let myself feel things, but I'm feeling a whole lot more than I used to. So I would say number one is just if I sense any kind of feeling attempting to rise up in me, I attempt to let that happen. A common experience for me is I will catch myself ruminating or overthinking, and then that is like a red flag for me that I have not felt a feeling, because overthinking is under feeling. So if I catch myself continuously going back to thinking about something, I try to like figure out what the emotion is and try to bring the feeling up. Kind of going hand in hand with noticing my feelings, but I'm also trying to notice my needs that usually my emotions are signaling to me. And if I can notice my needs, I attempt to honor them when I can, and just be aware of them, even if it really feels like I can't. I try to communicate them to my husband a lot more than I used to. I attempt to be aware of my energy levels. Again, huge work in progress. But I used to be fueled almost purely by anxiety. And so in certain ways, honestly, it feels like I am less productive than I used to be. But I think it is a much healthier thing. And also I used to like really overdo it and then really crash out. And so I think keeping somewhat more consistent is better. Again, still a big work in progress, but I at least am attempting to see where my energy levels are at, and not take on more than I really can handle, which is hard because I do feel like my capacity is quite low a lot of the time. And I think a lot of that is because of the therapy that I'm doing and the trauma healing that I'm trying to do. It takes a lot of emotional energy to be on a healing journey. But still, when I notice myself feeling hurt or like offended or anything along those lines, I try to notice that and to recognize that that's a sign I need to set a boundary and to communicate that boundary if need be. That's super, super hard for me. I have like parts that kind of come in to try to talk me out of doing that, and like to convince myself that like my feeling was wrong and so I don't really need to do anything about it, and yada yada. But again, we're talking aspirations here, not necessarily what I'm doing flawlessly. When I have emotions, especially ones that feel illogical or dramatic or overblown, I try to empathize with myself. I have a basically lifelong history of really criticizing myself for illogical feelings or dramatic feelings, overblown feelings. And so I try to not be mean to myself if I have an emotion that doesn't make sense or that I don't like, and try to remind myself like what's really going on there. Is that like this, if this feels really overblown to the situation, it's some past thing that's coming up and my body is trying to protect me from something. And even if it's not doing that super great in like the here and now, if it feels inconvenient, like that's okay. Sometimes that's the reality of it. But it doesn't mean my emotions are stupid or that I'm stupid or whatever. It's well intended, even if it's not really the most helpful. I'm working on trying to figure out what my like core beliefs are or like trauma-based beliefs are, because I did spend so much time in my head, and not enough time in my emotions or my body. I don't intuitively even know what like my trauma taught me or things that my trauma brain believes, because I was so quick to just silence it that I lack a lot of awareness. I'm of the belief that understanding what our trauma-based beliefs are or our core beliefs are, emotional knowings, whatever you want to call them, is a really helpful thing to know, to work on healing those things. I intentionally try to make myself do relaxing things that are restorative, like painting, coloring, cross stitch or needle felt. Those, like, I kind of like craftsy stuff. I'm sure it's different for other people, but I definitely notice that there is a big difference between just kind of like shutting off my brain to relax versus doing something that is relaxing and like actually restorative. So I try to prioritize doing some restorative things on the weekends. And I'm also working on trying to go easy on myself when I need to go easy on myself. So sometimes that means buying convenient things rather than doing the hard, labor intensive version of something. Things like doing pickup orders or delivery orders for groceries sometimes. I probably have more, but those are the ones that I can think of currently. I would love to see in the comments what you do between therapy sessions to work on your healing.